A ghost just crashed the rich list? A ghost with no company, no VCs, and no press tour. On paper, Satoshi Nakamoto now outpaces household names. And they did it without building a brand, raising $1, or giving a single interview. Here's the twist. There isn't even a single Satoshi wallet. It's an estimate of early mined coins. Coins that, as far as anyone can tell, have never moved.
Because when you spend from an address, you leave behind a public key and a digital signature. Whereas Satoshi, for example, never spent, never moved any of the initial mined coins. So if, in fact, Satoshi had 1 million coins, and if those are sitting there on the blockchain, because they haven't been spent, we don't have a signature, and we don't have a public key.
Value without venture, power without PR. Wait, what's power without PR? Maybe not that one. Today we're unpacking what it really means for the unknown creator of Bitcoin to have hodled for this long, and why it matters more than the headline. I'm Oceans. This is Beyond Bitcoin. Let's dive in. Let's get precise for a moment. People say Satoshi's wallet, but there is no single magic address. Researchers infer a cluster of early mined coins, often cited around 1 million Bitcoin. And this all comes from the distinctive mining patterns in the first year of Bitcoin. Add today's Bitcoin price and poof, you have billion-dollar headlines. But that is marked to market, not realized wealth. Those coins, they don't move, they don't vote, and they don't lobby. They just sit there like buried pirate's gold in the lost city of Atlantis. Now here's the part that really breaks the brain. Satoshi didn't found a company. He didn't reach out to VCs, and he certainly didn't stack a bunch of pre-mined coins and then sell it on the market later. Satoshi wrote a paper, and then he shipped the code, and mined it early to secure the network while it was still fragile. And then he left. No victory lap, just, I moved on to other things. I wonder what those other things are. That exit mattered the most.
I think that for me, the biggest one was that I'm less convinced that Satoshi could have ever stayed. Like we have this like mental image in our mind that Satoshi chose to leave, or it was somehow like a benevolent decision on his part. Looking back through the archives and like really digging and spending a lot of time with what happened in 2010 and 2009, I really just think that in many ways, the community outgrew him. They no longer needed Satoshi. Like if you look and follow the forums, by the end, by late 2010, you have a few things that happen. And one of the notable things is that people become outright hostile to Satoshi. They become more comfortable dissociating from him. You have people in these IRC chats. They're talking about, oh, is he a woman? Is he a Yakuza guy? They're drawing pictures of him. They're talking about, if he was a woman, they would claim him as their girlfriend. They're like fighting over this kind of stuff. So they just have this mental break where even in Satoshi's like own time, where he was like a actual person like managing this project, he became so sort of mythological that people just became very abstract. Like the article starts with people sort of discussing like all their theories about who he is and how mysterious he is, and in reality, he's still the person pushing updates to the code. So I think that, really one, they really dissociate from him like towards the end. And I think two, there's kind of this wave of FUD that happens at the end of 2010. You have the first, people who are coming to the Bitcoin project, and Bitcoin's successful now. It's like almost $1. It's like $1 million project. And they're casting doubt on it. They're like, oh, you have this leader and he could just change anything. And, you have these, I call this like part of the article, it's like the birth of FUD. It's really like, this is the first FUD. Like there was no FUD before. Like, if you're a Bitcoin user, you're used to FUD, like people making stuff up to challenge, your insight and your understanding of Bitcoin. That had literally never happened before. And their response was, they were just like, okay, well, if Satoshi does something bad, we're going to fork. In everybody from like, your average pleb user to Gavin Andreessen, who by that point was Satoshi's right hand, essentially, was like, look, if Satoshi goes rogue, we're going to fork. And I think, in actualizing this message, really what you see, I think, is that I don't really see how Satoshi could have stayed.
If there's no CEO to flatter or follow, no foundation to capture, no press junkets, how in the heck has Bitcoin become the best performing asset since, well, forever?
And I just think like the first period of Bitcoin is weird because like you're Satoshi, you're this guy, like you know that you've created decentralized money, you know you've created a money free from government control finally, but like nobody cares, like nobody. It's like that meme, like with the Jurassic Park guy, where he's like, "See, nobody cares," right? So you just think of like Satoshi being in that seat, and like you've invented this thing. It's a human invention. Like maybe like it's like fire, flight, and like Bitcoin. Like when all is said and done in humanity, like but just nobody gives a shit. And he actually has to like do stuff to get people to care about Bitcoin. So like I think the end of that first phase is he launches the Bitcoin forums, and you might think like as like that being kind of an afterthought, like that might not be one of the most important things Satoshi did, but I really think it was huge actually because he built a community for people to talk about Bitcoin. And then what you find is as people got together, they like built exchanges, they started trading, like and Bitcoin like had a price. Like I think the end of that first period is like people get together and they price Bitcoin, and but it is weird to think that Satoshi had to actively like court interest in Bitcoin, right? And I think that to me that was another realization that I thought was interesting. Is like, oh no, he was a guy who had to go out to us. He had to find ways to get people interested. And I never really pictured Satoshi in that way as like being like an innovator, like somebody who launched something who had to like in some way try to make it appeal to people. So I think that was interesting.
Bitcoin's center of gravity stayed with the protocol, not the person. That's why you don't see a Satoshi keynote at the Bitcoin conference or a brand department steering narrative. The design choice wasn't an accident, and Satoshi's absence may just be seen as having biblical-level significance in the future. Let's compare this to living moguls like Musk, Bezos, and Gates. Their wealth is tied to boards, brands, and balance sheets. They're operators playing in a corporate game well within the public eye, and their public presence is one of the many attributes that allow them the success that they've had so far. Satoshi's wealth is different. It's transparent, inert, and auditable. Auditable, auditable, and most importantly, it's outside of corporate governance. If Satoshi's coins never move, they function more like a monument and not a lever. Quick break. If you care about sovereignty, don't just secure your money, secure your signal as well. When cell towers go down from a fire or a flood or some cyber mess, I'm guessing you don't want to be guessing. Sat123.com outfits you with practical sovereignty gear. Faraday bags, emergency rations, and satellite phones that don't rely on local infrastructure. No gatekeepers. No, sorry, our service is down. If you're building real resilience, start with comms and protection you control. Go to sat123.com and put the promo code SIMPLY for 15% off your purchase. That's sat123.com. Link below. Every few months, this headline surfaces. Satoshi's moved. Here's the reality. Analysts watch old coins like hawks. And so far, every scare either traced to unrelated early miners or didn't match the known patterns. If the real Satoshi coins ever moved, it would be the loudest on-chain signal in history. Not because a billionaire cashed out, but because the myth has suddenly become real. Now that can't be said about any fiat bank account. And honestly, the fact that they don't move has become part of the Bitcoin story.
Satoshi is a spiritual figure in the Bitcoin community. Satoshi is equivalent to Prometheus. Prometheus gave us fire. Satoshi gave us money. Bitcoin is the first perfect money in the history of the human race. I spend my copious free time reading economic history, and I've read thousands of years of economic history and tens of thousands of pages, and it's one chaotic, disaster train wreck of we used seashells, we used bales of tobacco, we used silver and gold, and we clipped the coins, and we had bimetallism, and it crashed, and we had fiat currency, and we had a debt crisis, and no one ever had a money that was not defective. I mean, I can show you examples of monetary crashes every 30 years for the past 3,000 years in every single culture. And Satoshi comes along for the first time and says, oh yeah, here's money, it's not broken.
Issuance schedule, the halving cadence, rule set enforcement. That predictability is the opposite of human whim and fancy, and it's why the story plays at civilization scale. So when you see that tweet that Satoshi is now worth X, ahead of Y and behind Z, remember, that's a mirror we hold up to our world, and not some trophy sitting on someone's shelf. It tells you open, permissionless systems can outproduce gate-kept empires without the empire. Thank you so much for watching. Real quick, if you want skin in the network beyond stacking sats, Sazmining makes Bitcoin mining hands-off. You buy the ASIC, and they host it and maintain it in professional facilities. And the Bitcoin it earns goes to your wallet. Go to sazmining.com and book a call with one of their expert team members and start mining today. The wealthiest nobody is proof that rules can outrun rulers. Whether the number on that tweet goes up or down tomorrow, the lesson holds. Neutral rule sets scale further than personalities. If you found this video interesting, hit the like button so more people can see it, or you could subscribe to the Simply Bitcoin channel. We're putting out content like this every single day of the week. And I'd also love to hear your favorite Satoshi myth. Why don't you drop it in the comments below? I'm Oceans. This is Beyond Bitcoin. Until next time.